One. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Steph Halla. She's my good friend. We've known each other now since fall of 2015. And some of you are already familiar with who she is because for my past two releases, so the self-titled record, Lila Bialy, and then the one that's coming out now, Out of Dust, she is the mastermind behind all the visuals. So everything from, how the album artwork is designed to what I look like in videos. Sometimes she'll bring in someone else to help coordinate styling, but she is really the person masterminding it all. The videos, like I said, the single artwork, album artwork, et cetera, et cetera. She even oversees my Instagram feed and helps me stay on brand, which is something that's been super useful to me as an artist, to help me, communicate a visual that goes with the music. So, hi, Steph.
Hi.
How are you? Where are you?
I'm in New York City and Brooklyn in my apartment, just like everyone else.
Can I ask you, what is the vibe there right now? I mean, we're reading about it in the papers, but what's it actually like?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say what it's like because I'm inside and it's like we haven't been outside that much, but it's weird. I mean, for me personally, like I work from home generally, so it's not that different for me. Besides the fact that like you live in New York, I feel like you're kind of used to going out a lot and seeing your friends and going to a bunch of events, and that's just not happening. So I think we're really seeing a different side of the city, and like really, I think like everyone else, we're really learning how to connect in a new and different way, and like how the whole world is going to be affected by this, and like how all of our daily lives will be affected for the foreseeable future. But I think that overall it's weird. It's just weird. I think we're all just a little bit unsure of what's happening and how to proceed. And I think, like we need to be patient with each other as we learn what this looks like. But there's also, I think, a lot of frustration being specifically in a city where the second you leave your house, you're interacting with someone in some way. It's not like we all have backyards that we can go to or things like that. So I think there's really a lot more emphasis on the do not leave your house at all for any reason kind of thing.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I've been following the New York Times, and it's just wild. I mean, I lived there for 8 years myself. We met when I was still there, right before I moved back to Toronto. And it's just strange, seeing these empty streets, places that are usually teeming with people, but it's the right move. And actually, you said something that I think connects well with another question I wanted to ask you. You were talking about how we're all trying to find a meaningful way to connect online. And a big part of, I think our online experience is what we see visually. And I know for me, I've been really excited by, what you've brought to my world as, again, I'm going to say a visual mastermind. You have just incredible creativity. And something that I thought was really, that I think is really special about you is your ability to connect a visual with the music. So when we did the last record, before you started coming up with the visuals, you asked if you could hear the tracks. And that, of course, felt really vulnerable for me because the music was not yet done. It was sort of half-baked, but you needed to hear it in order to kind of find your starting place. So I wondered if you could tell us just a little bit about what that process looks for you, specifically when you collaborate with musicians. And I know you have a lot of people you work with, like CAAMP. You've worked with Us the Duo, some major acts out there.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely feel like a lot of it for me is like actually listening to the music. And I think what I love about doing what I do is just the getting to know the artist and like what it is that they want to portray. I think that like branding as a whole, whether it's like for a major company or for an artist, it really is just like the message that you want to put out into the world, how you want to be perceived. And I think specifically on the music side, it's so much more personal. I mean, it's like you are the product as the musician. And so because of that, there's just so much more complexity to it, where it like really has to feel right and it has to feel genuine. Otherwise, it's not going to read, and you're not going to subscribe to that brand, and then other people won't either. And so for me, it's really like a lot about the music, but it's also a lot about just like the person who is behind the music and what are their values, how do they see themselves. Because the other thing is too, it's not really always the way you see yourself isn't always the most genuine view of yourself. I mean, I think that's something I've learned over time, that it's like I feel that like the way I see myself sometimes is not really how other people are viewing me, and is maybe not the most accurate reflection. So I think it's really that, like, I love the process of getting to know someone over time. I mean, we've known each other for years now, and it's like the brand just continues to develop to something that I feel like gets closer and closer to like who you are as an artist over time. And that also changes per project, and that's what you can kind of hear from the music. And I think that that's why I love to do that. So a lot of times I listen to the music. I have like a branding questionnaire that I like to send around to people that I'm just starting to get to know. And I like to just like look through all the stuff that they've put out in the past, that they are like currently doing, and really try to get like a idea of how they see themselves. And then from there, I'll make a mood board. And then from the mood board, we will then move into like, what are all the deliverables, and how does that image, that brand go across everything.
Totally. I love it. So I wanted to say, just, I cannot overstate how critical your partnership with me as an artist has been in terms of the development of my trajectory holistically. So, I think as artists, or as musicians rather, we might tend to focus on the music, but the way that it does tie in with the visuals is, as I said earlier, as important as ever. So I just want to say to my artist friends, my fellow musician friends who are out there watching, Steph, her company is called Halla, or Halla Creative, Halla Creative. We'll give you more info at the end of this, but honestly, I could not recommend Steph more highly if you're looking to, vamp up, amp up, ramp up your brand. She's one of the best partners I've found creatively ever in my life. So yay.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, I feel that way, and it's so true. Tell us just a little bit about your background, because you have training in like lots of different areas of arts and fashion, and I think that's why you're also very special.
Yeah, so I went to school at Savannah College of Art and Design, and my major was fashion design. So I moved to New York to pursue fashion design, and I worked in women's wear design for designer labels for a few years.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, and it was really fun, but it ultimately just didn't feel as creative as I had hoped. I think you're in school and you just like have this dream of like this glamorous life, and I think I realized it wasn't really for me. I mean, I love fashion still, and I think I always will, and a lot of what I do still involves like some aspect of styling or fashion. I think it's still very important to the brand of an artist, but I just decided that it wasn't really right. So I took a little time, self-discovery time, and really just tried a bunch of different things. I tried styling. I started a little illustration business. I did some home staging and interior design. I started doing some graphic design. Yeah, I did everything. I just had to pay the bills, and I, was like wanting to figure out like what it was in the arts that I really felt like I wanted to do. And during that time, a good friend of mine, Adam Sensenbrenner, he started hiring me. He had a small music management company, and he started hiring me to do some graphic design work and for all of his musicians. And then he basically got to a point where he was a little too overwhelmed with work and just asked me if I wanted to join him. So I started working with him at his management company and doing some management work along with taking over just kind of a lot of the creative, because as you said earlier, I think a lot of musicians don't think about the like visual side as much. I mean, there definitely are some who I think have a really amazing vision for where they see things going, but even in that situation, I think it's really hard to manage both the music side, the business side, and then the creative side as far as visuals go. And so I started kind of just slowly making that kind of path for myself and taking over all the creative discussions for all of the musicians we were working with, which is how we got connected. And then from there, Adam moved on to a different job, and I decided that I didn't want to work in management anymore. I wanted to do just full-time creative direction and focus on just the visual side for musicians. And I've been working on my own for a couple of years now and just doing freelance creative direction work, mostly for musicians, but also for some other companies, like all different types of companies otherwise. But my main focus is on music and just kind of doing everything visual that an artist may need, and really making sure that that brand is cohesive and that it does really match the music, and that you can really have a world that you're creating for yourself. So
totally. And the other thing I'll say that you do that I think makes you unique, and it probably comes from just who you are as a person, but also your time with Adam Sensenbrenner. You know, you're a strategist. So not only are you building someone's brand and visuals, you're actually strategizing how all of those visuals stack up over time and work together and get implemented, which again, it's another area where I, as an artist, have definitely felt overwhelmed. And it's been hugely helpful to have you building timelines and a cohesive visual strategy, which takes us to the release of Out of Dust. And I know this is just a strange and unprecedented time. And, you know, I determined to move forward with this album partly because of its name. I thought, gosh, you know, the songs on this project were written out of my own personal struggles and sort of coming out of dust. And now I feel like, in a way, so many people around the world have their own out of dust stories. And I've been curious to ask everyone I'm speaking with in this interview series about how they're, you know, finding their way out of the dust on a daily basis. You know, what are some of the things that you and Nick are doing? Nick is your partner and husband, another creative. Are there some tips? Oh, sorry, that's my tech, which I tried to disable, but apparently did not get disabled. Any tips for our viewers today?
Oh man, I mean, I'm personally taking the time to do all the things, like creative things that I've been wanting to do for a while. I mean, I think just like in the digital age, I feel like I spend 90% of my time in front of a computer, it feels like. And I really miss just like picking up a paintbrush or like a notebook and just drawing. And so I've been doing that. I working on a abstract painting, and then I painted a pot yesterday when I repainted all of my plants because they were all a little too big for their pots. I don't know. And then I've just been like drawing a little bit more, and I'm just hoping to like get away from my computer a bit more and just like focus on kind of like tangible art. And that's one thing that I'm doing, attempting to be healthy just like everybody else hopefully is. I don't know. I mean, I think I think we can look at this on a positive note and just, you know, if we are healthy and safe, which I hope, you know, most people will be, but I think while we are, you know, to like use it for some sort of positive growth. And for me, it's something I've been wanting to focus on more, is just like the actual physical creation of art that's away from my computer. So
I love that. Hey, Steph, thank you for speaking with me and thanks for everything that you do. I'm just
Yeah.
a fan. I'm so grateful for you and love to you and Nick in Brooklyn.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye, darling. See
Bye.
you soon.